Play. All right. So guys, today, massive session and something that I encourage you all to take some notes on. I have done a video for this previously in the Inner Sanctum. So you've obviously got that as a reference and as a guide. But ideally what I want to do today, you guys we're all about adding value. We're all about adding value to people's lives, helping with some information, helping with obviously helping them to overcome their struggles. And I think that's where today's post and today's Facebook strategy for you is going to be something that will change the game. As I've sort of mentioned before in our pre-chat, it's already changed the game for Kylie and such, in a sense where we have 120 odd comments through over the last couple of days, which has been fantastic. And obviously a lot of my other clients use this. I use this. You'll probably notice some posts when I go through the actual structure of this a little bit later, that this is something that I've used before. Funnily enough, it's even something that I used to capture Scotty's attention, which was great. So guys, the strategy that we're going to go through is something called the two-step post. Funnily enough, the two-step actually has 3 steps to it, but the first step is optional. It's completely up to you as to whether you want to do that or not. Okay, so it must be a guy thing, 2-step post, and we put 3 steps in, but that's okay. I'm not going to take all the credit for this strategy either. This actually came from another mentor of mine, young Facebook guru called Riley Stewart. He's fantastic at what he does, and this is something that we've even worked on and that he's taught me about. So let's get into it, guys. Guys, how many of you are using questions on your Facebook pages or in your profiles at the moment? Yep. Find they get good interaction? What are some of the things, or actually, let me ask this better question. What are some of the posts that create the best engagement?
Ones that people are related to.
Yep. In what way?
What their interests are.
And what else? Brittany's good at this one.
More so what they need.
Yep. So yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So and I know you've asked some really cool questions recently. What were some of the ones that you've asked?
Have I?
Unless I'm reading wrong.
I always go with what I'm feeling.
So even that in itself, and there's a really cool point. So we've segued into something else, but I mean, you guys are obviously within your market, yeah? So going with what you're feeling, given that you're in your market, tells me that there are more people that feel that way, right? So you generally ask questions based on that, or questions based on something to do with people's lives and lifestyles more so than health and fitness, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So the basis of what we look at here, thanks guys, the basis of what we're looking at here to set things up is to ask people a general question. Some of the ones that we've used, and we call them quick win questions. Now, the quick win really comes off the back of being able to ask a question and get people commenting and interacting ASAP. Now, just on that, I popped a great little article on content marketing in the Inner Sanctum today. Check it out. It's actually come from some of the guys that head up the marketing for Coca-Cola and some of the bigger multinationals out there, which I found really interesting and really help you guys with your content as well. So our first post, our quick win question, is all about engagement. It's all about getting people interacting. So in essence, it's all about asking them, for example, how many kilos would you like to drop before summer? I did one that was, how many kilos would you like to drop after Easter? And I think I had 30 new leads come off that. If I was PTing, I would have been off and running, but obviously I'm not anymore. Well, not as much. Some of the other ones we've used, again, they're very lifestyle based, but the most important thing here, and guys, the most important piece of advice that I'll give you with your content is this. Make sure you're speaking the right language. Make sure you're speaking the language of your market, not just language that comes out of your mouth. So as an example, bikini bodies and hot bodies and trim and tone and those types of things are words that people use. People use weight loss still a heck of a lot. I would imagine that 9 out of 10 people that come to you guys wanting help say, hey, Britt, I'd like to lose some weight. Or, hey, Kylie, I'd really like to tone up. Or, Chloe, I've tried all of these diets and none of them are working. So I think the important thing to remember, guys, is that your market is still very much using words like weight, tone, and diet, which are probably the 3 words as PTs we cringe the most at, but that's okay. All that it means is that we need to meet our market with our content. And asking that quick win question is going to help you to do so. So asking questions about weight. Who would like to tone up before summer? Who feels like they've tried every diet out there? They're not things that we're going to say as trainers once people are in our business, but they're certainly things that are going to capture people's attention, right? So once we've thrown that out there, so let's use the weight one as an example. So my quick win question might be, how many kilos would you like to drop before summer? And I'll have people comment 10, 15, 25, 7. Some people will like it. The most important thing, and this is great to do with the algorithm, and you guys do this on each other's Facebook lives at the moment, and that is you go and comment on everyone's lives. Now, the most important thing that you can do when someone comments on your live is to do what? Yeah, I can lip read. Yeah, comment back. Absolutely. It's the best thing you can do. The way that the algorithm has now changed on Facebook has it geared in a way where Facebook wants more news, and they're making a really clear distinction between Facebook and Instagram. Zuckerberg, as you know, owns both. He's making a really clear distinction between Facebook and Instagram. Instagram is very picture, visual. Yep, I want to see what you had for breakfast. I want to see baby spam. I want to see your life in pictures. Facebook's more about news. So the more interaction and engagement that you have on a post, the more Facebook identifies that as news, and the more people are going to see your post. So if people comment on your post, so how many kilos would you like to drop before summer? You've got people saying 5, 10, 15. You can say things like, thanks for your comment. Thanks for your feedback. Looking forward to helping you more with it, just to keep the post active and viral within the newsfeed. Okay, so post number 1 in our 2-step post process, your quick win question. The broader you can keep the question, so 2 things with your question. The broader you can keep the question, and the more that question can be in the language of your audience and your market, the better. Okay, post number 2 with the 2-step. And as I said earlier, guys, you don't have to use the question. I like using the question because I think it sets up the strategy. The next post is about the problem and why it's a problem. And there's something I look at in the industry now, and I obviously network with a lot of trainers and know a lot of trainers. The difference between the good and the great. The good trainers out there know people want to lose weight. They know people want to tone up. They know people want to, they've tried all these diets and they want some help with nutrition. But what they don't get is why they're not where they want to be. And what they don't highlight enough is why people have the problem in the first place. Because they're the little things that great trainers will help people on. I think Maria's got a bikini body workout coming. Brittany, you've got a new program launching soon. Obviously, Kylie, you've got your one launching soon, which I'm really looking forward to after our chat. Tamara's just launched Mama to MILF, which I think is really cool. A few of the other guys are launching these new programs, which is great. The thing that your programs need to cover, guys, and the things that obviously your programs need to be simple. And the reason that I say your programs need to be simple is because you guys have a really good understanding of why your clients aren't where they want to be. So let's go back to our question. How much weight would you like to lose before summer? Or how many kilos would you like to drop before summer? My next post is going to be all about why people can't drop the weight. So I'm going to use things like they're not moving enough. I'm going to keep the reasons why really, really simple. Okay, so I'm going to use things like they're not moving enough. They're not fueling their body in the right way. They're not getting enough sleep. They're not drinking enough water. They're overstressed. They're overwhelmed. They don't prioritize time to move. There's so many reasons out there, but what I want to do is cover the most common. Because guys, at the end of the day, are we going to relate with our market with the solution or with the problems? We're going to relate best with the problems. Absolutely. We're going to relate best with the problems. You flick on the news at night. I know not many of us watch the news, but I watch the very early morning news now that it's feed time. Every news, the majority of the news stories out there are negative. this has happened, that's happened, this many people, that many people died, shot, whatever it may be. People are conditioned to the negative. But the other thing we also identify and that we also know is that Australia is, we are as a country overweight. There are so many people out there that do want to lose some weight. We do know there are so many people out there who struggle with moving. We do know there are so many people, hey Tamara, we do know there are so many people out there who think they've tried everything and it hasn't worked. So ideally what I want to do here and how I want to structure this post is in a very clever way. And the way that I want to structure this post is to position myself as the expert. Now, those of you that are using your live videos as frequently as you are, you guys are already doing this, which is terrific. But I think doing this in a way where you can write it as well as say it and use it in your videos will be fantastic for your business. And the way that I want it to come across is this. I want it to come across in a way where I'm not only going to re-highlight the problem in the sense that I understand so many people out there do want to shed some unwanted kgs, or that I do want to frame it in a way where we as a personal training business work with people every single day on simple and effective ways to lose weight. And I want to use the lose weight terminology because I know everyone's going to be able to understand it and I know people are going to relate to it. And then what I want to do is, in sharing that, I then want to show people why they're not losing weight, which would be they're not moving enough, they're not fueling their bodies well, they're not getting enough sleep, they're not drinking enough water, they're stressed out from work, da-da-da-da-da. And then the next most important piece and the most critical piece is this one. I want to state again that we work with people and have helped many people, hundreds of people, many people, however many it is. Use many if you're stuck on the number. We've helped many people overcome these problems to help them achieve their weight loss goals. What I also want to state in this is that normally we keep our tips and our tricks and what we do exclusively for our clients only. But seeing as we know that there are so many of you out there who would love a solution, who would love an answer, who would love some help, we have now Kylie, guys, if you checked out Kylie's post, Kylie had her recipes there that people got a copy of. If you checked out a post I did in the Inner Sanctum a couple of days ago, which was another example of a two-step post, Dan used a really simple tip sheet. Now, a tip sheet, guys, can be something as simple as pop your 5 solutions on or 5 effective ways to kickstart your weight loss goals on a Word document, save it as a PDF, there's a tip sheet. And it's something that people will print out and pop on their fridge, I guarantee you, because it's just so simple and so straightforward. Okay? So ideally now what I want people to do is I want people to interact on this post. So how do I get them engaged and how do I get them interacting? Really simple. If you'd like a copy of my tip sheet, simply comment "I'm in" below. Now, the reason I want people to comment is this. Go back to what I said before. I want people engaging. I want people interacting because the more people engage and interact, the more my post is going to be seen by more people. I also want people interacting on my post and commenting on my post because Facebook doesn't like you using links. So unless you're using Facebook ads where people can click on your video or the advert itself and be taken to a landing page, Facebook doesn't like posts that have foreign links in them. So if you were to use a Google form or an Eventbrite link or a Woofu link or something like that, your post wouldn't be seen by anywhere near as many people. The other thing that's important to note with this strategy is this. It works better on your profile than it does on your business page. And the reason it works better on your profile is because, again, with the new algorithm and the way things are changing, Facebook is in an all-out war to rid the platform of business pages that are just completely inactive. So even if you're using your business page, I still encourage you to pop the post on your business page, but ideally you will get more traction from your profile because more people are going to see it.
Just a quick question.
Absolutely.
Most of my posts, for example, mostly come from my Instagram because it automatically uploads straight to Instagram as well to Facebook.
Yep.
Is that still Facebook recognizing that it's interacting, or is it more so better just to be posting purely on the Facebook page?
Great question. Everyone does it. And here's the unfortunate answer. Facebook doesn't like you sharing from Insta.
Okay. So
Okay.
cross-promoting. Yeah.
Correct. So, and I think sort of when we go back now, I won't encourage you to stop doing it altogether, because clearly there are some things visually that it's just easier to share them across. But from a content perspective, what Facebook, or what they're trying to create out of the two platforms, is that Facebook is one that is, I think, more valuable in terms of content and news. Insta being more graphic, where people are just going to flick through and double tap and whatnot. Probably notice now that you're finding less and less text on a lot of Instagram posts now, because even Instagram's recognizing, no, we don't want the text. We just want the photos, the hashtags, and that's it. We don't want the text as if you've just copied and pasted it from Facebook. Okay. So my advice to you would be, if you've got, now look, if you've got a piece of content that you want to post on Instagram that will have a great impact on Facebook, use it. But ideally, keep them separate if you can. Okay. Cool. So to finish, to wrap up this post, ideally what I want to encourage is people to comment, I'm in. I want people commenting. I want to then reply to their comments. We know why now. I want to reply to their comments, and I want to say, thanks so much for commenting. Private message on its way, or private message on its way soon, or I'll PM you very soon. And then ideally, of course, step number 3 is to private message everyone who's posted or who's commented with your tip sheet or ebook or whatever it may be. And that's the 2-step post. Now, it doesn't end there, which is the good news, because obviously once we send the tip sheet through, what do you think the next most important thing is to do? I can lip read, so you can just say it. Follow up, absolutely. And the way that I want to follow up is by going back to them, and here's a really cool way to do it. I want to follow up and I want to ask them, hey, how did you enjoy the tip sheet? Or how did you enjoy this? Or did you have any questions about that? And then I ideally want to offer them something. Now, what I've found has worked best, has been to offer them a strategy session or an opportunity to get them on the phone. So ideally, what I want to look at doing here is take the conversation from a Facebook message to a phone call. And for this reason, guys, the last thing you want to be doing is having 120 comments like Kylie's had. The last thing you want to be doing is having 80 different Facebook Messenger conversations going where you're replying to different people here, there, and everywhere and lose track of where you're at. I would much rather take my conversation from a message to a phone call. And in that phone call, ideally what I want to be doing here is getting them into PLC. What I want to be doing is getting them in front of me. I want to then be able to bring them in, whether it's using your trial passes or from a PT perspective, whether it's to book them in for a consult, or for those of you doing irresistible offers, if you're running a 30-day $97 program, you're using that little strategy. You can even use your follow-up phone call to book them in for that. But ideally here, my biggest piece of advice to you all is, once you've then got them interested in the phone call or the chat with you over the phone, take it from a message chat to a phone conversation. Okay. Does anyone have any questions for me on that?
How long do you usually leave it for, like a couple of days before you do the follow-up?
24 to 48 hours, ideally. Yeah, I don't want them going too cold, but I still want to give them enough time to read. Now, Kylie, you did your one on
Sunday.
So most people back to work today, back to school, again, life, etc. I'd start my follow-ups tomorrow, ideally. Okay. Awesome. Now, who wants to know how the phone call goes? Because this can be a little bonus for you. Who's confident when they speak to people over the phone?
Yeah, I am. Bro, just quickly, I'm no longer in clubs at the moment. I'm doing online.
Oh, good on you.
Yeah. I'm with PLC, obviously, still.
Oh, would I say? Yeah.
Yes, I'm still doing everything with PLC, functional games. like
Yes.
ambassador. I'm just going to be doing more so online because that's what I was doing before PLC. So I stepped out of Northgate, but I'll be helping out at a few clubs and doing a few things, and maybe even looking into doing little workshops at
Awesome.
PLCs
Awesome.
across Coast, Gold Coast, Brisbane.
Yep.
So if you have any whilst you're talking to transfer this sort of scenario into online, that would be awesome.
Okay, so ideally, great question, and ideally nothing needs to change. All that's going to change for you is that when you jump to that conversation, you're not going to worry about booking them in for a face-to-face chat. Ideally, what you're going to want to do, now your program's coming up very soon, isn't it? Your new program launch.
Yeah, I think it's not next Monday, the Monday after.
Okay, so ideally you could use this strategy now. Now, please refresh my memory because there's so many programs and so many people I follow. What's your program about again?
Mine will be just a generic beauty program.
Okay.
So like workouts, yeah.
Cool.
So I haven't actually had a name for it just yet. I only randomly, sporadically put out a post the other day, which got me 100 leads by accident. It was just random. So now I just got to plan it out where I release and what it's about.
Perfect. Okay. Once you've got that set, what I'd encourage you to do, obviously, once that's in place, you're going to know. I think we've all got a really good idea as to who you'd market to and who your target audience is.
Yeah.
What I would look at doing is using a 2-step post around that, whether it's something to do with weight, toning, summer, etc., given that it's very relevant to your market.
Mm-hmm.
And ideally, what I would suggest to you to do now is that's a paid program, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I was going to do a membership kind of base. I have a membership website where it's $15 a week per person, and basically create PLC but online.
Perfect. So ideally, what I would suggest that you do, and what you might like to do, is again go through that too. So the question, the post itself, send them something that you can then follow up on. So even if it's some tips might be some tips to help them set some goals, might be some tips to get them thinking about how simple the weight loss process could potentially be. Then I would absolutely get them on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would do, now this next little bit is going to help you immensely. And so I'll go through what that phone call looks like in terms of how you can speak to them over the phone. I use 4 really simple questions with my pre-qualification call. And those 4 questions are, where are they now? So once I've been on Messenger and I book them in for a call, I want to find out where they are now. I want to find out where they're going. So their goals. I want to know what's stopping them from getting there, is the 3rd question. And then I'm going to share with them how I can help. Now I need the answers to questions 1, 2, and 3 before I know how I can help them. So Brittany, in this example, what I would suggest that you do is find out where they are now in terms of what they're doing, how they're feeling, what they're currently doing workout-wise, nutrition-wise, etc. I'd ask them what the goal is. I'm training for a wedding, or I'm training for this, I'm training for that. Cool. So why aren't you where you want to be? Well, you know what? I don't know what to do, or I'm struggling with this, or I'm struggling with that. And then that last question, really simple, you go, well, here's how I can help. Now, my suggestion to you would be, and my question to you to answer my question, what's the product that you'd ideally like to get them onto?
Just like I guess the workouts and mindset ebook. So I want a book, a workout ebook, and then nutrition.
Okay, and you're going to sell them as a product?
Yeah.
So ideally you want to sell that to them then and there, and you can sell that in that conversation. Okay, yeah. And then from there, what you might like to build out is that next step in the process. And guys, for those of you tuning in, the process is no different face to face. So the next step here would be to build out how that initial steps of your client journey. So if the Facebook groups they go into, what links we need to send them, whether we send it on email, whether it's done through Facebook. And obviously what we're starting here is that member experience, is that member journey in your business. Okay, so you can then start to build that out and how that looks. And I really like to put myself in the shoes of the client in this scenario and go, okay, well, if I just signed up to a brand new online program, what would I like to be a part of? How would I like to be made feel? Obviously, I'm doing it online, so I know I'm not getting that sort of face-to-face accountability, but I know that I'm going to need to kick up the bum. I know that I want to feel supported and know that there's people around me that I can ask questions to, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so that for me would be the next step for you to build out. No different to those of you doing face-to-face PT right now. Does that help?
Massively. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Sorry, one more thing. Would you also recommend, I already did it, but like just having the support group on, no, but like anything you can recommend in it, like you have the Inner Sanctum, which is mine will be like a group with everybody in it.
Yeah, of course.
Would you recommend obviously getting in that every single day as much as they can?
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's one that I'm very cautious of balance in groups, because ideally the bigger the group, the more you can post in there, because not everyone's going to get the notification, or some turn the notifications on and off and things like that. As a starting point, yes. What ideally I want to gauge here is the level of support and accountability that these guys need, which I'm going to base off the results that they're achieving. So, Britt, for you, this will be a bit of a test and measure process. I would anticipate, as I know you guys are obviously do really well already, I would anticipate you're probably going to go live in the group twice a week. I would say a bit of Monday motivation mindset work. I would say a little bit of midweek accountability. How's your training going? Here's a great little tip for this and a tip for that. In between, you can still ask questions. Are great in groups, so you can still ask questions. You can be welcoming new clients. You can be shouting out people's progress and success. You can be adding little funnies and things like that, just to completely take people off topic, but just to get people engaging. So ideally, I'd say 5 out of the 7 days you'll be posting in there. Okay, at a minimum. Now, what I find, and look, everyone's got their own balance. Sometimes you might post twice a day. I would say in the interim, once a day over that 5 out of 7 day period will be ideal. Okay, I think that the balance here that you want to achieve is enough support that they feel like they're on track, but it not be too intense that it's over the top and turn people off. And you'll gauge, and the best way to gauge the feedback that you're getting on your post, gauge the interaction to your questions, the likes, etc. That'll give you a good guide. Okay. The other thing I love to do is just ask them straight out, hey guys, what would you like to see more of in the group? Or what would you like to learn more about? That can sometimes be a great way to reinvigorate some content too. Okay. Now on that, and as a little extra, that's very leveraged in terms of that little ebook product series that you've got there. If you wanted to, and if you did have something that was more individualized or had some more contact time to it, as in a monthly follow-up call where they get you one-on-one, you could then obviously, after their first 30 days using that ebook program, you could then upsell them if you wanted to. So that's a little extra that you might like. Don't have to. It's up to you, but completely up to you. Okay. All right. Has anyone else got any questions for me? No? Sorted? Good. Enjoy posting. Happy posting. Couple little things that, again, from my experience and my learnings of doing this, and again, Facebook's changing all the time. The platform's changing all the time with regards to this. Number one, not every post that you do. Now, again, it's a very strategic style of post. I certainly wouldn't recommend doing one every single week. Once to 10 days, fortnight is more than ample. Okay. The key here is, though, you really want to cover off on the big topics: the weight loss, the toning, the dieting, the time, the energy. Really look to open up and focus in on those bigger life struggles and issues that your market has. Like I say, time, energy, not knowing what to do. I think one of the best one for you guys is people that have gym memberships that aren't using them. or people that started something and never finished, etc., etc. Okay, so really look at those bigger life aspects there. Of course, use the language of your market. Okay, so lots of, again, we do need to come and meet the market on this. And then once they're in and a member of our business, that's where we commence the education process. And I think the other thing is too, with your questions, you might ask some questions that people won't necessarily comment on, but they are watching. I think that's the other thing that I've really found. They might like it, but may not necessarily comment. But what you will do is actually capture people's train of thought and get them waiting for what you're going to post next. Okay. Awesome, guys. As always, recording will be up a little bit later. If you have any questions between now and then, or better still for you guys, given that you're here and you're live, if you would like me to read over your two-step copy, your content and what you've written, by all means, send it through privately, and I'm more than happy to sort of read over that and edit it. I know that it does help sometimes just to get some of the structure and the terminology more on point with how things are really working on the platforms at the moment as well. Okay. And of course, if you want to steal me for 30 minutes at some point over the next week, you can as well. I'm going to open those times up again as we sort of get to August. I know that we've been through a lot the last couple of weeks with feedbacks and plannings and surveys and irresistible offers. So if you want some further clarification, guys, that opportunity is there for you as well. All right. Enjoy the week. Take care. Have fun. See you soon.
Thanks, Bo.
See you guys.